Liberal Democrat spokesperson Munira Wilson.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Every child, no matter their background, deserves the opportunity to flourish and fulfil their potential. Liberal Democrats welcome any and all efforts to reduce the number of children in poverty, because we believe investing in our children and young people is one of the most important investments a government can make. And that's why we welcomed the Chancellor's announcement at the budget to lift the cap on universal credit for families with more than two children. A cruel policy put in place by George Osborne and the Conservatives when they were left to their own devices in government. However, what has been announced today is a smorgasbord of existing proposals which is very light on any new measures that we urgently need to tackle the scourge of child poverty. Even the government's own numbers suggest that this strategy will leave nearly 4 million children stuck in poverty. The government needs to go further, and the Secretary of State could start by properly funding the very welcome expansion in free school meals and, crucially, automatically enrolling children on the scheme so that no child slips through the cracks and misses out on a hot, healthy meal. The Education Secretary could also set a cap on the cost of branded school uniform so that hard-pressed parents don't have to suffer overinflated prices as a result of her short-sighted policy to cap the number of branded uniform items. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, we know that one of the biggest determinants of outcomes is housing. Like many other London MPs, I regularly see families in my surgery suffering the devastating consequences of being shoved into temporary accommodation many miles away from their schools and wider family. If the government is serious about ending the use of B&B accommodation, they must focus on building social housing. We need to build 150,000 social homes every year in order that local people can genuinely afford to live in their area with local services to meet their needs. And finally, the Secretary of State rightfully pointed out that long-term costs of material poverty, the same can be true of those children suffering a poverty of love and care. That's why her failure to reverse the cuts she imposed earlier this year to the Adoption and Special Guardianship Support Fund by finding just £25 million, a drop in the ocean of government spending, is so egregious and short-sighted. Why won't she think again to ensure our most vulnerable children can access the therapy they desperately need to have a best second chance in life?
Madam Deputy Speaker, this is an ambitious strategy that will see the largest ever reduction in the number of children growing up in poverty in a single parliament since records began. No one can accuse us of lacking ambition where it comes to driving down those numbers. And whilst I note the Honourable Lady's reference to the introduction of the two-child limit, I would just observe that it was after 2010, with the coalition government, that we saw, for example, the mass closure programme of Sure Start centres right across our country, even though the evidence was clear about the outcomes they delivered and the difference that they made to families. And that's why I am proud that this Labour government is bringing back Sure Start for a new generation with Best Start family hubs to make sure all families and children get the support that they need. Running alongside that, as I set out, we are investing £39 billion in social and affordable housing, the single biggest in a generation uplift in support to build the social and affordable homes that people in London and across our country desperately need. And that runs alongside all of the measures in the Employment Rights Bill, the changes around universal credit, the expansion of free school meals that she references, where we are putting an extra £1 billion into supporting families. This Labour government is investing in children, investing in their futures to deliver the brighter future that all of our children deserve.